Yo, what's going on? This boy Snazzy back at it from VFT. We got Jimmy High Roller now. Listen, we haven't reacted to Jimmy High Roller in a long time. It's been about a year now, I think, right? Yeah, so it's been a very long time. The video that we're going to be watching today is we are witnessing the worst pro sports team of all time, which is the Detroit Pistons. And you know I'm fucking mad because they won against my Toronto Raptors. Now I'm not mad that we're losing. I'm just mad that we lost to the worst team in the NBA. And you know what I'm also mad about is that I exactly predicted it. I exactly predicted the Raptors losing to the fucking, what do you call it? The Pistons. Hey man, let's check this out. See what's going on. See what Jimmy Roller has to say.
You see this? This is what a losing team looks like. But not just the losing team of this particular game, but a team that has lost more consecutive games than any team ever has. In every single season, in the history of pro sports in North America.
That's
The
crazy.
Pistons are really bad. But they're not just bad relative to this season. They're not even just bad for an NBA team. They are possibly
Oh my God,
the worst
I didn't
North
see that clip
American
by
pro
Ivy.
sports team ever.
Detroit 28 straight loss ties the Philadelphia 76ers. Yeah.
Today's video is sponsored by SeatGeek of looking that North America need to be
We're not here to watch promotions. We're here to watch the video.
in order to be
You gotta get that bag though. Good shit,
the
Jimmy
worst
High
team.
Roller. That's all I'm gonna say.
like ever. In North America, professional sports have been around for over a century, starting with the National League of Professional Baseball Clubs in 1876,
basically
followed by
MLB,
the
right?
American League of Professional Baseball in 1901, forming the MLB in
Yeah.
1903. 14 years later, the National Hockey League was established in 1917, and then came the NFL, formerly known as the American Professional Football Association, 3 years later in 1920. The fourth and final major sport didn't come about until 1946.
Yeah, but
when
didn't
the
they also have like basketball teams before the NBA was formed? Like back in like the 20s and shit? I thought they did. I don't know.
Basketball Association of America was founded, known today as the NBA. And over the last 148 years, these four leagues have expanded and grown to now include 124 teams
Hey, there we go. We
across
see the Blue
two
Jays.
countries.
Where's the Leafs at, though? What about the
124
Raptors?
teams,
Where-
nearly
what about-
150 years of history, thousands of individual
There we go. I
team
see the Leafs.
seasons. And yet, throughout all of this, one team has to inevitably be the
I
worst
see the
one.
Raptors too, hey man.
And
Jimmy
that
High
team
Roller
is
showing
playing
love,
right
man.
now in Detroit. What the Pistons have managed to do so far this season isn't just bad. Their incompetence is a statistical anomaly. At the moment, the Pistons are on a 28-game losing streak. 28 games.
And you know what's
20
crazy, bro? The Pistons, bro. If you look at the Pistons roster, the Pistons roster isn't 2-28 bad. That's what Cade Cunningham said. If you look at the teams that were on these losing streaks, we had the 2011 Cavs, which were without LeBron and just completely just a bunch of scrubs and shit, bro. Like that was the worst team before the Pistons. Like, if you look at the Pistons roster have a lot of good guys. They got Stewart, they got Bogdanovich, they have Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, Jalen Duren. They got a lot of guys that could eat. We know they weren't gonna be a play-in team, and we know that they were gonna be a playoff team, but we know that they're not a 2-28 bad team.
28 losses in a row. Now, y'all remember the Cleveland Browns back in 2016 and 2017?
goodness, that Browns
Just
team
how
was
bad
garbage.
they were?
Hey,
Well,
man,
they
Joe
lost
Joe Flacco's Joe Flacco is saving the Browns right now.
17 games in a row across
Shout
two
out to Joe
seasons.
Flacco.
They were horrendous for 2 full seasons, but their losing streak is only the 62nd longest in North American pro sports history.
Man, that
To
Browns team
find
was
this year's
garbage,
Pistons,
bro.
you have to take
Garbage.
a nosedive through 150 years of sports, some of the worst teams imaginable. Then keep going, and then go some more until you've reached rock
Oh
bottom.
my goodness, the
With
Bobcats,
the
bro.
second
The
longest-
Bobcats were so bad, bro. Bro, the only thing the Bobcats are known for, the Charlotte Bobcats, the only thing the Bobcats were known for is losing, bro. Like their brand, bro. The Bobcats, bro. Everything was just horrible about the team. The branding, the jerseys, the players, the record, everything.
longest losing streak in
The
pro
only reason I
sports.
remember the Bobcats is because LeBron, that one clip of LeBron staring at Michael Jordan.
The only team that strung together more consecutive losses were the mid-1940s Chicago Cardinals of the NFL, who spent 4 seasons
1940s, bro. They're still, bro. 1940s, they had Coke and cocaine. Coke and Coca-Cola, bro.
just losing a whole bunch of games in a row. To put some perspective on just how bad the Pistons are, the San Jose Sharks are the worst team in the NHL this season. In fact, they're on pace to being one of the worst teams in recent history. And they have a win percentage of 27.2%.
Bro,
The
they almost got a better record
would
than
need to go
Raptors.
on a 9-game winning streak, starting with their next game, just to catch up to how bad the Sharks have been this season. But it gets even worse. The Panthers have been the worst team in the NFL this season, winning just 2 of their 15 games. Their win percentage is just 13.3%, which means right now, the Pistons are relatively half as good as the worst team in the National Football League.
Hey, the Panthers are
But,
garbage
my friends,
too. Don't
it gets
don't
even
disrespect
worse.
the Panthers.
Because
Panthers
over in
are
the
shit.
MLB, there's one clear front runner as the worst team in the league, and that is the Oakland A's. The A's played so bad last season that it literally cost the city of Oakland their baseball team. And still, the A's finished the 2023 season with a winning percentage of 30.9% and a record of 50
Hey
and
man, shout out to
112.
Oakland, bro. Shout out to all the Oakland fans, man. You gotta feel bad for all the Oakland fans. They lost the Warriors, they lost the Raiders, and now they're about to lose the Athletics. Y'all really gotta, you guys really have to acknowledge. This is some baseball knowledge, bro. The Athletics were one of the best teams in like the 80s, bro. Like, bro, the stadium, I forget the athletic stadium name, but bro, that shit used to be packed, bro. Now it's just empty because they're so garbage.
If you scale their season
Shout
down
out to
to
Oakland, though.
82
Their fans
games,
are loyal
that's
as hell.
equivalent to an NBA
They do
team
not
winning
deserve
about
what they're getting
25
right
games in
now.
a season. From the time this season started, the Pistons are on pace to winning 25 games, sometime around mid-season, in 2028. The Pistons are a horrifically
crazy.
bad team. In
Hey man,
fact,
bro,
they are
if I'm Cade Cunningham, I'm not even signing a max with Detroit, bro. I'm testing free agency, bro.
so bad that comparing them to other teams this year, even across other sports, there is still clearly no competition for who the worst team is. In order to do that, we have to pull out the record books. Here are the 10 worst teams in NBA history according to win percentage. Now, it makes sense to use win percentage here over actual number of wins because every season does not have the
Bro,
same
there's a
amount of
team named
games.
the
For
Steamrollers in
example, the
1948.
Providence
What?
Steamrollers won just 6 games back in the Stone Age, but they only played 48 games the entire season. And then, of course, there are the 2012 Bobcats, who won just 7 games in a
Yeah, but
66
bro, y'all gotta know that Bobcat season, that was a shortened season, so they didn't play a full 82 games. They played like 66 games, I think.
game shortened season. I vividly
It's 'cause
remember
of the
this
strikes,
Bobcats
I
team.
think.
They were so bad that the discourse around them that season wasn't about if they were just the worst team in the NBA. It was about if the Kentucky men's basketball team, a college team, could beat them in a game. This team was disgusting. And yet, somehow, the 2024 Pistons are losing more games than that Bobcats team did. Even in a shortened 66-game season, the Bobcats managed to win 7 games. This season, with a full 82-game schedule, the Pistons are on pace to winning just 5, which would
That's
essentially
crazy.
make them about twice as bad as
Hey
the
man,
next
Pistons
worst
fans, enjoy those wins while you can, bro. That's all I'm gonna say. Enjoy
team in
those wins
NBA
while you
history.
can.
If we compare the Pistons to the worst teams in MLB history, they are still, by a massive margin, worse than any team that has ever played in Major League Baseball's 148
Bro, look
years.
at these MLB teams, bro. Half of this shit is from the 1800s, bro. Bro, I hope you know, bro. Most of the records that are set in the MLB are from the 1800s, bro. Like,
History.
cap.
The last time a team in Major League Baseball
bro, like half of the MLB was like based in the 1800s. Like, bro, look at this. Spiders, fucking, what are
was
these names?
even remotely
Colonels?
close to as bad as this year's Pistons, the league sounded more like a branch of government than it
Bro,
did a professional
the
sports
Cowboys?
league. The Colonels, the Nationals, the Senators, the
Bro,
Cowboys.
these sound like fucking high school, like Bro, these sound like high school teams in like in like the middle of Arkansas, bro.
Boys, go back nearly
No cap.
150 years, and still, you will not find a team as bad as this year's Pistons. But the worst team in MLB history, according to Team Record, were the Cleveland Spiders. Yes, this was a real team. And no, they were not as bad as this year's Pistons. Going 20-134 on the season, the Spiders had the worst winning percentage in league history of just 13%, which means they were still winning twice as often as Detroit is this season. Detroit's
crazy.
record at the moment would be the equivalent to an MLB team winning just 10 games in an entire 100 and
Bro, the way Jimmy High Roller is saying this shit is making the Pistons look even worse, man.
62 game season. But what about the NHL? Nearly 100 years of history. There's gotta be one team that just couldn't win games, right? No. In 1975, the Washington Capitals were one of two teams added to the league in an expansion year. The team was literally built from scratch. Sort of a Frankenstein of a roster, loaded with free agents, young prospects, players who had never even played a minute of professional hockey in their careers, bits and pieces from other teams. By no means was this team expected to win many games, and they didn't. The Capitals finished the season with the worst record in NHL history, winning just 8 games. But back then, NHL games could end in a tie, essentially giving half wins in those scenarios. So those 8 wins got the Capitals to a win percentage of 13.1%, very similar to the worst teams throughout NBA and NFL history, which makes the Pistons
But now they changed from ties to overtime losses, so...
still far worse than the worst team in NHL history. A team that was playing in its first season with new players, new ownership, and virtually no expectations. But that leaves us with the NFL. And as many of you know, there have been a handful of winless teams throughout the league's history. And 5 potential wins is still better than 0 wins, right? Wrong. I believe that a team on pace to winning 5 or 6 games in an 82-game NBA season is still worse than most, if not all, 0-win teams in NFL history. For example, take the most recent 0-win team in the NFL, the 2017 Browns, one of the 8 winless teams throughout the NFL's history. In that 2017 season, despite winning 0 games, the Browns had an average point differential of negative 11 points, meaning on average, they lost every single game that season by 11,
Yeah, that Browns team
which
is garbage,
sounds
bro.
bad.
Come on,
Because
man.
it
Joe
is,
Flacco's
and
changed
yet
this
that
franchise.
still only ranks as the
Honestly, bro, if I'm the Browns, bro, I'm
109th
playing Joe Flacco over Deshaun Watson. No cap.
worst team point differential in league history. They were losing, but they were still competing compared to some other bad teams throughout the NFL's history. In fact, there have been teams who were losing games on average by twice as much as the 0-win Browns, but at least those teams still managed to win a game or two. The Pistons, on the other hand, oddly enough, have a similar average point differential of negative 11.53, which is
Hey,
the
but
fifth
bro, I'm not gonna lie,
worst
the Pistons
point
have been playing a lot
differential
better recently.
in the
A lot of their
history
games have
of
been
the
close, like the
NBA.
Jazz game, the Nets
So they're
game,
not
the
only
Celtics
losing
game, the
damn near
Raptors game.
every game,
They've all been
they
close.
aren't even competing. And the 4 teams that were losing by more than the Pistons still managed to win double-digit games,
bro.
or at least
That's
were
how you know the
nearly
Pistons-
on pace
bro, that's
to
how you know
in
the
a full
Pistons are that
season.
bad.
The Pistons aren't
I mean,
just
look at this,
losing
bro.
games.
Like, we have some
they are getting
generational
blown
bad
out.
teams, bro. Like, this Bobcats team, this is the worst team in NBA history, of course. I don't think that Mavericks team was any good. None of these teams were any good, bro. Like,
Out in nearly
and this
every
is what I'm saying, bro. Like, the Pistons, they have a good roster. They shouldn't be this bad.
game. So now that we
We knew they were gonna be bad, but not this bad.
know, at least at this moment, the Pistons are worse than any NBA team ever. They're worse than any MLB team ever. They are worse than every NHL team that has ever
What
taken
about
the
MLS?
ice. And they're probably
haven't talked
worse,
about the
if
MLS
not
yet.
as bad as the worst
I mean,
NFL
MLS
teams
isn't even
ever.
that major.
I think it's safe to say that at the pace they're on, they could
I mean,
potentially
Messi kinda
finish
made it
this
major,
season
but
as
if
the
Messi wasn't
worst
there, it's
major
kinda
pro
like a
sports
farm
team
league.
North America has ever seen. So how exactly can a team be this bad?
I
How
forgot
does
Joe
this
Harris
happen?
was on the
Well,
Pistons.
first,
They don't
this
play
is a
him at
very
all.
young team. the third youngest team in the NBA with an average age of just 23 years old. The majority of their
That's
minutes
really young.
going to these young guys with hardly any NBA experience and no real opportunity or guidance to
But
learn the ropes before.
also a problem with the Pistons. They have way too many centers. They have like 5 centers. They have Durham. They have Bagley. They have Stewart. They have Wiseman. And I think they have one
We're
more.
being thrown into
Like,
the
they have a
Lions'
ton
den
of centers, so
every
the
game.
spacing on that
And
team
part
is
of this
garbage.
is for reason
'Cause none
number
of them can
2,
shoot,
which
really.
is injuries. With
Besides,
2 of
I
their
don't even know
oldest
Durham can
players
shoot that
and
good.
their 2 highest paid players,
Stewart.
Bojan Bogdanovic and Joe Harris, missing the majority of the season so far due to injuries. The lack of veteran leadership in this locker room and on the court has seemed to have made a real negative impact on this
Yeah, that's what
team's
I'm saying, bro.
morale
They need
and
to get,
their
like,
ability to
veterans.
fight through adversity. Most of these young guys have never
Really, a
been in
veteran
a
they should go
situation where
after
they
for
need
is a veteran they should go after for is Derrick Rose.
to lead or even
Again.
carry a bad team to victories. This takes time to learn, and right now, nearly every
Veterans
player
like
on this
Derrick
roster is learning
Rose,
this all
Rudy
simultaneously.
Gay,
Whether they are
like,
even capable is a whole
who
nother
else?
topic.
Horford,
This is
maybe?
why Alec Burks, a
Goran
career role player,
Dragic.
can
Actually, no,
oftentimes
Dragic
be
retired, I
found with the
forgot about
ball
him.
in his hands late in these games. He's a
Like,
12-year
just
NBA
like
vet who
veterans.
has logged enough minutes to at least have some idea of how to navigate close, competitive games. This team also can't close out any games. Even
That's
the
facts.
worst teams can usually squeeze
That's
out some
facts.
tough
We
wins.
seen that in the Celtics game. They were up by like 20. They blew the lead. They were up by like 6 with like 2 minutes left. They blew that lead too.
Just by sheer luck, if nothing else. The Pistons have found themselves in clutch situations 14 times this season. That's games within 5 points with 5 minutes or less remaining in the fourth quarter. And in those clutch moments, the Pistons have shot, by far, a league low of 23.3% from the field while scoring 4.2 points.
What the That is so bad. Do you know how bad that is? One out of every this is basically out of every 5 shots that the Pistons are shooting under 5 minutes left in a game, in a close game, is they're only making 1 out of 5 shots. That is horrendous.
Less
and when you
than
miss
half.
shots, you leave transition opportunities wide open, so that's easy buckets for the other team.
Of the league average.
Like,
This
realistically,
has led them to
you're
win
missing out on
just
2 points
one
or 3
of their
points, and then
14
giving up
relatively
easy 2
winnable
points because
games.
it's a
If
transition
they are
bucket.
just not horrific in the final minutes of these games, they win
Well,
at least
now it's 13 out of 15.
a
They
few
just
of these
won.
matchups. And it may sound like an oversimplification, but the Pistons just can't score or defend. Of the 11 players on their roster attempting at least 1 3-pointer a game, just 3 of them are shooting at a league average percentage.
Bro, who is this dude, man? Marcus Sasser. I've never heard of him before. Bro, you just threw this guy out of... threw this guy up out of nowhere, man.
And one of those 3 players
Hey, but
is
Cade's
their
developing.
starting
Cade
center.
gets a pass.
The other 8 players have a combined
Joe
3-point
Harris, bro.
percentage
You're only
of
known for
just
3-point shooting.
29.2%.
Joe Harris is gonna- bro, Joe Harris can play overseas
essentially
next year.
making them one of, if not the worst shooting team since the 3-ball really
Joe
took
Harris
off
is-
a
bro, Joe
decade
Harris
ago.
ain't
Add
gonna
that to the
play on
fact
the
that
NBA team
this
next year.
team
He's
is
gonna be overseas.
abysmal
Probably gonna be in China or
defensively,
Europe.
allowing over 120 points per game, while only scoring 109 points per game, and you have a recipe for disaster. They have no depth. Outside of Cade Cunningham and a downhill Jaden Ivey, they don't have anyone who can create their own
Come on, bro. Jalen Duren, too. Jalen Duren's highly underrated. Highly underrated. Yes, he still needs developing, but he's highly underrated.
shot. And to add fuel to
Thompson,
the
too.
fire,
Thompson's
they
an
are
underrated
leading the
defender. Nobody
league in
talks about him.
turnovers and fouls committed. So they can't even hold on to the ball, and they're giving up more free points to their opponents than any other team in the league. So they're not just bad at every aspect of the game, they are virtually the worst at every aspect of the game. And what makes this situation worse, if that's even possible, is that most bad teams throughout NBA history, and even recent sports history, are losing almost on purpose in an effort to tank. And you know when a team is tanking, not spending any money, loading up on picks, dumping off assets to make room for a rebuild. The Pistons are this bad, and they're actually trying to win. They hired
Yeah,
Monty
exactly.
Williams
They're
this
not
past
trying to
offseason.
tank anymore. They were trying to tank like 2-3 years ago. The Pistons have like 1 winning season in like a decade. Like, I hope y'all know this. after 2016, 2017, I don't think they made the playoffs. Yeah, they didn't. 2018, they didn't make the playoffs. 2019, they made it as the 8th seed, but they got swept, so not really. 2020, they sucked. 2021, they sucked. 2022, they sucked. And now they suck too.
Season with, at the time, the highest salary of any coach in NBA history. They have 5 top 10 picks over the last 4 seasons on their roster in Asar Thompson, Jaden Ivey, number 1 overall pick in Cade Cunningham, Killian Hayes, and James Wiseman. This team is trying to win. They just can't. On his podcast last week, Bill Simmons made a great point about the whole situation that
Bill
really
Simmons
put into
is highly
perspective just
knowledgeable,
how
bro.
bad
If
and
y'all
even
wanna
how
learn about the NBA, go
unlucky
to Bill
this team
Simmons,
has
man.
been so far this season. With the parity in the modern NBA and the depth and the three-point variance that can create double-digit point swings in just a matter of seconds, losing 28 games in a row is almost like flipping a coin 28 times and it landing on heads 28 times
Yeah.
in a row. The Pistons' struggles this season aren't just bad, they're bordering statistical improbability at this point. It is truly
And
fascinating
not only
to
that,
see.
bro,
But
a lot of
this
their games, they're being favored to win. They just suck. They just suck, bro.
is exactly why, if they keep this up for the remainder of the season, the 2023-2024 Pistons won't just become the worst NBA team of all time, they will be the worst professional sports team in North American history.
Hey, man, Pistons fans, bro. Let me know what y'all think about this season, man. If y'all need any like life advice, bro, come to me, man. I'll help you guys out. But yeah. Anyways, guys, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Peace out.